Hello, welcome back again. So, this class I would like to show you few things. I want to make sure that you understand how to clear the console when you have the output like there. You can just click clear. This is how you use Eclipse. Eclipse to do the clear. And I want to show you the next thing. Let me list out the topic here. One, basic data type. Just like to review again. So first we have an int, and we also have a short and byte. So byte is the size is going to be 1 byte. Right, so byte has 1 byte, and then short has 2 bytes. Int has 4 bytes, and long has 8 bytes, and then float. Now the first 4 types that we're saying here, we can use for number, integers, numbers, or the whole number. Now the number with decimals, we have to use float. Float has 4 bytes. And then we also looking at double. Double has 8 bytes. And we have for a characters, we call data type as char or char, and that's going to occupy 2 bytes. And also we have boolean. Boolean is not the characters, it's just like you want to say true or false statements, or just a true or false variables we like to use in an expression statement. And this is 1 bit. I will show you how to use them. Again, these are the basic Java primitive data types. So we can show you how to use them in the program. Declare them and use them. Second thing, pretty much just how to declare a variables that you need to give the data types. Also how to declare a constant. So variables, something that you can change. Constant, you don't want to change it, stay the same. We rarely change it. And we want to show you how to output. Instead of using the system.out, this time we want to make a GUI or graphic user interface output. But this is going to be a simple GUI. We're going to use JOptionPane. Alright, so that's what we gonna do. We're going to create some expressions too. Yes, expressions means like some mathematical expressions, like I would say sum equals to n number 1 plus number 2. But we're going to look at more expressions because we're going to look at beside plus we can also use, so let's say mathematic operations. We're going to say add, so we use this. Subtract, we use minus sign. Multiply, we use asterisk. That's for multiplying. And divide slash. For example, 5 divided by 2. Java is going to give you an integer back. If you divide integer with integer, you get 2. Now you want to get remainder. We call modulator operations. In Java, use percentage symbols. For example, 5 mod 2. You get remainder, which is equals to 1. Okay, so we have add, minus, subtract, divide, and modulators. And we can use other parentheses to grouping them, open and close, just like in math or when you learn your algebra class. Okay, so let's take a look at those now. So create a new project and let's name a project as something like mathematical expression. File, new, Java project. Project name. Now right click, new, class. So let's name the class name. I want to do create a calculator, maybe simple calculator. All right, include the main. So first, we want to show you how to declare the data types as a variables. So inside your main method here, this is a place in the beginning of your program. We like to start to declare a variables. This is a good practice here. Always declare your variables in the beginning. So let's start with byte, short, int, and long. So byte, I'm going to say byte could be letter X. Now byte, you can only have the values between -128 and 127 because it's 1 byte and 1 byte has 8 bit. So 8 bit can represent the number in that range. So I can do, let's say 100. Now we gotta do short. Short is a little bit bigger, 2 bytes. So we can do minus between minus 32,768 to between n Okay, let me use dash for that. $32,767. So short. Let's name it as y equals to 30,000. Okay, now we look at another data type, int z equals to, now in integers you can do very big number, 147,483,648. 2, that's 2 minus negative 2,000 million, or 2,000 billion, 147 million and 483,648 to the positive 2,147,483,647. Then you can pretty much just give a 2 billion for this. I just said 2 million for now, make it shorter, okay? Now, you may see when I declare data type, I keep the type in front, the name of your variables, declare your variables, and assign the values. You don't need to assign a value now. You can do it later. Like for example, I'm going to do another one long, let's say u equals to, you can say nothing for now, and then you can assign later u equals to, like inside the program or right after you declare. If you want to do that, now we're just going to assign the values right there. But I'm going to show you right after you declare. So now long is going to be a big number. Okay, we talk about billion, trillion, thousand trillions, about 9,000 trillions. So I'm not going to list the value out. Now I'm going to give some number. So let's say giving some number that's bigger than int. Okay, so I'm going to give 3 billions then. Okay, 1, 2, 3, that's 1,000, 100,000. Okay, let me just put more zeros. I can just put more than. Okay, that's 1,000, million, billion, 300 billion. So I just put 300 billions. Now, what happens? It's going to say, I do not understand. Type int is our range, because I still thought that u is the int, because whenever you want to define long, you need to specify an L at the end to tell that this number is a long. Okay, so that's how you tell the program, so it will like it. Now, like I said, you can either declare it right here or just put it right after you declare your u and assign a value right away or assign a value later, doesn't matter. So let's take a look at another data type, float. and double. Alright, so we're going to do float v equals 2 float. Float is going to represent your decimal numbers. So decimal numbers could be 8.5. Okay, but same thing, if you want to say this is float, you need to convert it to float by using f, telling it that it's float, because by default the program like to look at whole number as int and the decimal number as double. So you can use double. W equals to 950 and 55, period, 55. So that could be a double, which is decimal numbers. So this showing the integer, and this is showing the decimal. Okay. Now we want to start to show you another data type, which is the characters. Characters is like a letter A, B, C, right? Char equals to. So when we declare a characters, we say a name or a symbol, something like that, or a letter. Okay, equals to. That's just a name. It can be anything like X, Y, Z, V, W. Those are just a variables. This is also a variables. So, but we like to use single quote when you declare characters. Double quote for string. And string is not a primitive data type, so we're not going to talk about it here. So let's say letter A, capitalize A. That's a letter. Okay, so that char. Boolean true or false. So I'm going to show you. I want to declare a Boolean type, which could be status equals to false or true. You can just give it a value like there. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to start to show you how to declare a constant. For the constants, a good practice is also put it right even before the other variables. We will say final. Final, just say constant is a final. Final means you cannot change the value anymore. We don't like you to keep changing the value inside the program anymore. And you can say this is an int type. This constant can be double, can be int. So I'm going to say double, and I'm going to say pi. Like pi is 3.1414 or 22 divided by 7. So that's the value of pi in math, right? Okay, so that's why we want a constant. And we also, one most important thing is always capitalize the name of your constant, right? Again, your class, capitalize the first letter, and between the words, capitalize it, no spaces. The method, lower cases, or the variables are lower cases, even instances. When you say instances, like example of scanner, keyboard, this is all lower cases, and all instances, this is an instance of the class name scanner. Equal new scanner system dot in. Again, we use this to read input from the user keyboard. Alright, so now that we understand how to create the constant in Java, constant, and how to declare all the variables, and using the primitive data types in Java. These are all the primitive data types. and this is to do instantiation. Okay, create an instance out of the class. So these are all basic things that we need to understand. Now, after this, we're going to look at how to output into the JOptionPane. So we normally use system.out to output. I just want to show you how to use JOptionPane this time. JOptionPane dot. Okay, show message dialog. Let's say no. So they require you to have two parameters. One, at this point, this is just like a pop-up box, right? To show a message. You want to say something user like with a pop-up box. So the first parameter just telling us that this point is no, but it's just want to see if you have a parent. Parent is just like if you have parent windows or parent applications and you want to have the pop-up to pop on the top of the parent window, so you can specify the parent name. But at this point, we're going to use just no for now, always using that at this point for your level. So after you create more graphic user interfaces, then you start to learn more and use this later. And this is the message that you want to say. Let's say hello world. Okay, so let me run this program. Of course, you always need to import those, but Eclipse is so smart. It just do the import for you, like java.util.scanner, java x.swing.JOptionPane. Okay, so those are the packages that Scanner and JOptionPane are resizing in. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just hit run, and you should see the pop-up that's coming from JOptionPane show message dialog and say hello world with a basic OK button and a default message as the title of your dialog box and the icons default Java copy. So that's how we use JOptionPane. Now, after we understand those basics, I want to start to create some mathematic expressions. Okay, so we're going to read something from the keyboard user input, and we're going to ask user to enter two numbers, and user is going to provide two numbers, and you do the sum and pop up the sum. Okay, so how do we do that again? We first need to declare. I'm going to let the user enter the floating points number or the doubles or the decimal numbers too. So I'm going to declare double. Okay, so right here, double. So I can say num1, num2, two numbers from user keyboard. So num1 equals 2. Now we use keyboard dot next double. So num2 equals to keyboard dot next double, right? All right, so if you don't prompt the user, then the user is going to be confusing. So we want to do system.out.print line and prompt the user, say enter first number, something like that. And we're going to copy this line and do the same, prompt the user to enter second number. Okay, and it's can be decimal number, integer number, because it's going to put into the double type. Then we don't need to worry about that. But we have to use next double when you use double type. Okay, read in the double number. So after you read them in, we say we're going to do the sum. So we need a sum as another variables. So sum equals to num1 plus num2. Now we're gonna say the JOptionPane say the sum is, so let's use some escape sequence in the code. We say sum and another escape sequence. So put slash to output the sum values inside the quote and pop up to show the user with the dialogs. Of course, after I run, I happen to deal with both the graphic user interface and the console. And the first number 12.5 and 2.5, which you say the sum is 15.0. Okay, so that's the basic mathematical expressions when you sum and pop it up. Of course, we can find more than just the sum. We can say diff, right, for difference. So diff equals to num1 minus num2, and the same pop-up box I can just keep concatenating with the plus, and I'm going to say that diff is, right, but of course I'm going to copy this. I don't want to keep typing, and I want to do the escape sequence for slash n to make it to go a new line. Otherwise it's going to keep doing that in one line, which it's going to be, it's not pretty for the user to read, very hard to read. I'm going to minimize that when we have more spaces to see here. So, and I can start to do the enter a little bit to, then you may be able to read this easier. Okay, so I'm going to say the difference is, and it's going to be diff, right? And of course, we can do more operations with multiplication, division, and remainder, right? So let's do those. Multiplication we call product, right? Equals to num1 asterisk, meaning multiplying num2, and quotient is the divisions num1 divided by num2, and of course you need to declare them, right? Product and quotient and remainder. And normally quotient and remainder are int, so I prefer to say int. You're not going to see them in the decimal numbers. So now in that case, it's going to say, hey, these are double. How could you make it to an int? You cannot store the double into an int, right? Your variables is an int. That's not a problem. I can do casting. The concept of casting is after you divide this, you could group it into parentheses, and you can change it to integer right away by using casting. Convert it from double to int. That's what it means. Then we don't have problem. Remainder equals to the same concept. Casting it num mod, right? Num1 mod num2, that's remainders. So The rest of the stuff is just printable out, and we already have this line to help. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this whole line here. Okay. And start to do difference, product, quotient, and remainder. And of course, need to close parentheses at the end for that short message dialog. The difference is just change the text now to the product is, the remainder is, and the quotient first, right? The quotient is remainder is, and change the variables that you stored it, product, stored it, quotient, stored it, remainder. And this program should output what you're expecting by enter two number from the user input here. Let's say it's going to be 2, make it simple, and 2. Alright, the sum is 4, the difference is 0, the product is 4, the quotient is 1, and the remainder is 0. That's it for this videos, and I would like you to practice more, making sure that you will get a chance to practice this 6 things that we talked about today: primitive data types, decimals, characters, boolean, declare variables, declare constant, how to use the option pane for the UI, how to create expressions like those to add, subtract, multiply, divide. Okay, so, and make sure practice that, and I'll make sure you have the exercise to do. Thank you for watching. Again, don't forget to comment your program, and the last commentation that I'd like you to have is always tell us the author name, which is me, okay, and the date of this program created on January 28, and contact. And also, I'd like you to see I have web that you can post questions, concern, talkvariable.com. Okay, if you want to go and post your questions, concern about it, topic that we discuss, and the purpose of this program. That's also important. I'm going to just say to show you the basic Java primitive data types here. See that? Alright, so normally if you want, you can just keep indenting this and put the asterisk in to make it nice. And this whole thing is going to go to Java doc, and we'll discuss about Java doc later. Alright, thank you for watching. I'll see you next class. Just want to make sure this looks nice. Okay. Alright, goodbye.